Ahoy Rum Explorers, I'm Nia, I'm a rum enthusiast, and today we're exploring Guyana PM single origin rum. Super excited. This is a huge review for me, just as huge as this hat, because it is my very first collab with one of our fellow crew members. So we're gonna talk about 1423, who's the distributor of these bottles, how I got this bottle. So grab a drink and come plunder some rum with me. Got your drink? It's officially rum time. So as I mentioned, 1423 is the distributor of this bottle. So a little bit of history of this, because I did have to do quite a bit of extensive research for this one. So 1423, it's a premium spirits importer from Denmark. So they started in 2008 as a group of friends that had a hobby, and it started at a whiskey festival, which is crazy. But somebody in the rum world, which they don't mention who, a rum distributor had them taste their rum and they absolutely fell in love. So ever since then, which was, by the way, a rum from Trinidad, which I would love to know who it was. I'm wondering if it was Angostura. I have a feeling it was. So ever since then, they became 1423, where they go all over the world and source very unique unaged rums. Yes, unaged. So I was very surprised to hear that, because the dark coloring of this bottle really led me to believe that this might be an aged rum, but I'm very excited. So as far as that company, they were established in 2008, and they focus on premium rums. Now they also have tequilas and gin and rum on their website, but it seems to me that they are ex-whiskey drinkers because they had no whiskey. So it's really exciting as far as I could tell. I'll put their information down below. They had quite a bit of extensive amounts of different types of rums, which would be very interesting, of the very high-end companies. Now for the labeling, they're quite beautifully done. I don't know if you could see this, but I'll go ahead and insert an image of the bottle here. So on the bottle, it just has this beautiful coloring. It says Guyana PM single origin rum. Single origin means that it comes from one country. And then they also have on the bottle a little tag that says the 1423 S.B.S origin selection. These are very special rums because S.B.S means single barrel select. So single barrel, this is a single barrel rum. Now, as far as the other information, it says that it goes through pot still distillation. You know I love some pot still. The classification is molasses, which I don't understand what that means, but I'm assuming it means that it is fermented from molasses. It says it was distilled in 2021 and bottled in 2022. Which is interesting. On the back, it has a little bit of information of the company. As far as why this is such an interesting collab with one of our crew members reached out to me and offered me this bottle as something that he had very uniquely sourced. So thank you so much, Phil. I so appreciate it, and not my boyfriend Phil, one of my subscribers. Thank you so much. Sorry this took so long, but it's been crazy with us still working on the crew quarters. But I decided to make this one of the first in the year. So he emailed me and we corresponded, and I was able to source a bottle for him, and this is how I got this bottle. Now, I'm very excited because it is unaged. I've never had a rum from Guyana that's unaged, but let's go ahead and do the review. Now I did cheat a little, and I did look at the notes and the palate, which I wanted some guidance, and it says that there should be spicy and salty notes on the nose, somewhat like dried dates or rested corn, which I thought was very unique. I've never heard those notes. But again, let's please remember, these are only to serve as guidance because notes are very personal. They are not specific. So when these companies disclose this, everybody's nose is different and the notes should be different. So if you're not getting the same notes as what the company is putting out, don't be scared. Your nose is not broken. Just go ahead and enjoy those notes because you have a very unique nose or a very different perspective on what they have. And I absolutely love that about notes and spirits. Now, as far as the palette, they said that it'll have roasted marshmallows and cotton candy, so I'm expecting a very, very sweet palette. But it did say that it had a bitter finish, so it'll be interesting to see how bitter. So let's go ahead and pop this. Oh, that was a big one. Oh my god, this smells already amazing. Now the bottle is quite dark, so I'm expecting something very unique. And I'm gonna pour a little bit on the Glencairn. Now let's remember that because this is unaged, it will not have a color, but obviously I'm gonna show you just so you can have some perspective. On the bottle it does say, enjoy it neat, on the rocks, or to elevate your cocktails. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the Glencairn and the notes. Ooh, there is like a little bit of like marshmallows in there, cotton candy, but that does kind of smell like a rum agricole. There's something very unique about the nose, kind of like in the back. So at first you do get that rum agricole, but in the back there's something that I've never smelled before. It's like some kind of sweetness, like maybe like cotton candy like they said, but let's see. So for this one, I do want to try and use the rum aroma training kit. I'm gonna bring out number 10, which is dried fruit. And then I think I'm going to use and see if I can detect some of the spice, because they did say on the notes that it should be like kind of spicy, so that'll be interesting to see if I can pick it up. And spice is number 20 on the Rum Aroma training kit. I'm gonna leave that there for like a minute or so and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I'm gonna compare this to the Rum Aroma kit. So the first one was dried fruit. Yeah, that's definitely it. And then the next one I selected is spice. Right away, it's a no. I don't know, there's a sweet note there, but it's definitely not spice. So, dried fruit it is. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the Glencairn and the notes. Ooh, there is like a little bit of like marshmallows in there. Cotton candy, but that does kind of smell like a rum agricole. But there's something very unique about the nose, kind of like in the back. So at first you do get that rum agricole, but in the back there's something that I've never smelled before, like some kind of sweetness, like maybe like cotton candy like they said, but let's see. Okay, so I was actually looking for my rum journal, which I have not seen it since the conference last weekend. Okay, so I had to borrow Phil's just so I can remember what the different categories and stuff is, so I can go through this, because I know I keep on forgetting to do this. And I don't want to, because it's so important to document everything that you try. So let's start with the Glencairn. Again, I was going to show you so you can see how clear it is. Extremely clear. And let's go ahead and try it. Cheers. That is very interesting. So the front palate is kind of like a rum agricole. The middle, there's a lot of, even though it's only 57%, no wonder I'm feeling like a lot of heat, but it's weird. It's like the ethanol is rising to the top of my palate. There's a lot of very unique oiliness to it. And there is a little bit of bitter finish, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to take some more. Cheers. Wow, that's really interesting. And I wouldn't call it bitterness to me. To me, it's kind of like a peppery note, but definitely a lot of like incredible oiliness on the top of your palate. There's a lot of linger. Yeah, it lingers quite a bit. There's a little bit of a hug here. Move on to the neat glass. There's almost basically no nose to this. I'm gonna agitate it a little just to see if I can get it to come up a little. No, there's basically no nose. I feel like I have to like jump in there to be able to get something. Yeah, I kind of get like a, I'd say like a very light rum agricole-ish vibe, but there's not a lot of notes, I'd have to say. Very simple. Now let's try this one. Cheers. Okay, on the neat, I got more of the sweeter notes. It's definitely a lot smoother finish. I do get obviously the beginning of like a very unaged spirit, but again, kind of like a rum agricole. But in the middle palate, there's a lot of sweetness, like truly like toasted marshmallows. I don't know if maybe because I'm getting psyched out, but what I read but a lot of like sweet notes versus the Glencairn, which is very interesting. And I'm gonna grab a little bit more just to compare. And the heat dissipates, like in the Glencairn, like it was a little bit of a hug here. And then the Glencairn, there was like a little bit of a hug. And on this one, very smooth. It's incredible. Oh, the other thing I did kind of unique is I did what they call it, the Kentucky Chew, that we learned when we did the bourbon trail. So what you do is you basically kind of chomp on the spirit, so you get a lot of aeration in your mouth and you get different notes. And that's when I got the biggest notes of like marshmallow and sweetness with this one. I didn't want to try it with this one because I could already feel like the ethanol rising in my palate, and I felt like my nose was gonna like get overwhelmed, and then my eyes are gonna tear up, and nobody wants to see me cry, right? So I'm not gonna do that. But on this one, I managed to do it because I didn't feel like the ethanol fumes that much. It might be because it's aerating, but in all honesty, this will be a really nice spirit to add in a cocktail. I would not drink this neat. And if I did, I don't know, I think it kind of reminds me of like a rum agricole, but like a typical rum agricole. It doesn't remind me of anything special. I did enjoy it in this one. I think if I would sip it, I would sip it in the neat glass. But in the Glencairn, it's just too overwhelming. It's just too strong. The ethanol fumes there, like I said, I took a break and I went back to it to see if I could get it like a little bit more subdued once it gets a little bit more oxygen. But man, whew, between the ethanol and the heat, I was like struggling there. And not that it's bad, but it's just like very overwhelming as far as too much. Now, as far as the rum type, the journal rum type, I'm gonna say this is going to be a white rum. As far as the Guyana rum type classification, this is gonna be a pure single rum because it's made from molasses and processed in a pot still. As far as the Royal Rum Society's taste classification, from dry to sweet, I'm torn because on this one it was medium sweet, and on this one there was no sweetness at all. So I think I'm gonna go kind of in the middle. I think I'm gonna say a 4. Between 1 is dry, 9 is sweet. I think I'm gonna be a 4 just because on this one you can't really taste the sweetness. And then as far as from bland to flavorful, I would say this is a C. Actually, I would say that this is a D because it is kind of in the middle. There are some flavorings. There's a beginning palate, a middle palate, and the back palate. So I do consider that flavorful because it's going throughout your palate and kind of like you're getting like an experience from it, as I call it, which is very unique for a spirit. Then from harsh to smooth, the first time that I tried the one in the Glencairn, I did put it as hot. But now that I've let it rest a little, it did go down to medium, but I will keep it at medium, okay? I think this is pretty hot. And then as far as the whiskey exchange, I'm gonna do dry and spicy for this one. But I would also kind of give it an herbaceous and grassy, but because it's not a rum agricole per se, I am kind of getting those rum agricole vibes. I would definitely consider that one as well, maybe half and half. I don't know if that's even possible. I'll have to do some research. But is this treasure chest approved? No, it is not. But this is a very unique spirit. I haven't tried anything like this, so it's interesting. The sweetest notes that I get here, it's quite unique. And like I said, the nose, there's something that is giving me like rum agricole vibes, but at the end there's something there that I can't even put my finger on. It's like, I don't know, like it's more than dried fruits. It's kind of like honeysuckle or like honey, but very unique. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure you check out 1423. This incredible distributor has very good connections on a lot of the companies that I'm a big fan, so I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for their bottles. As far as this rum, I don't recommend it for entry-level rum lovers. I feel like this if you really would want to appreciate it, you'd have to have a more developed palate and more experience with rum as far as I'm concerned, unless you're coming from like, let's say the gin world, or you're coming from like cane spirits like aguardiente or firewater. I think you would enjoy this kind of rum. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button so I can welcome you on board. Thank you so much to everybody that has subscribed lately. Please remember that I'm wanting to hit that 1,000 subscribers, and I'm going to do the one chip challenge, so keep on subscribing so you can come see me suffer. Anyway, I look forward to the next rum. Cheers.